Hi, this is Sarit Switzer, and welcome to the It Is Taught podcast, a podcast devoted to the teachings of Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi as recorded in his most famous work, the Tanya. My hope for this show is to make these teachings accessible and relatable to the average person, regardless of prior Jewish education or affiliation. The episodes follow the prescribed daily study portions and are meant to serve as practical lessons in how to live your life as your true self and develop an authentic and powerful relationship with your Creator. I have personally experienced the effects the study of this work has had on me, and I'm excited to share what I can of this knowledge with you. So please join me on this journey of learning, self-growth, and connection with your source. Hi, and welcome to the It Is Taught podcast. This is episode 676 for the 14th of Tishrei in a regular year. So perhaps you're familiar with the template of the Batman and Robin memes where you have Robin saying something and Batman slaps him and says something else. If you're not familiar with this, perhaps I'll include it in the show notes so you can see what I'm talking about. There's one in particular that I saw several years ago that I thought was pretty funny, because it related to my life and to my profession. And namely what it was is that Robin starts saying, I would go to yoga, but I'm not flexible. And then Batman slaps Robin and he says, that's why you go to yoga. So it's a cute little meme but it's very profound, right? So this is a very common thing that people say. Like people say like, oh, I would go to the gym, but I'm not in shape, or people feel intimidated to go to a fitness class because they're not in shape, because they feel like they're going to be like the most unfit person there. Or if there's, let's say, a classical music concert happening and somebody says, oh, I'm not very musical. I don't appreciate music like that. Or let's say there's going to be some kind of lecture about how to best invest your money or how to handle your money. And a person might say, oh, I'm not into money. I'm horrible with money. I'm not going to go to that lecture. That's not for me. So hearing this from the outside, it sounds silly, right? But we all kind of do have these things on some level or another, that there's kind of like this aversion that we have or a kind of avoidance of certain things that we naturally feel like we're not good at. And we seem to have this kind of like misconception of skill and what skill is all about. We think when we look into a yoga class and we see all these really skinny, flexible people, we think that they're naturally like that and they're just so talented and so flexible, and that's why they're going to yoga class, to just show off their flexibility. We think when we look in the gym, there's all these buff, in shape people, and that's why they're going to the gym, to show off their bodies and show everybody how buff they are. We think these people that are going to these concerts, or let's say even the musician on the stage who's there, the violinist who's playing on stage and is this amazing virtuoso, and everybody's so impressed with this violinist, we think that they were just born with this natural talent. And the investors, the people, the business people, the entrepreneurs, the people that are making all this money, Elon Musk, those kind of people, we think, oh, they were just born like that. That's just how they are, right? Maybe in the back of our minds, we do understand that some of these talents do require some hard work and everything, and that there is a certain like honing of this work process. But there does tend to be this kind of like magical feel to it, like something that's unattainable to us. And while it's true that it's, not something to be denied, that certain people are more oriented towards certain professions, towards certain hobbies, things like that, depending on their natural inclinations, that definitely is a valid fact. Nevertheless, a person can be born with the most flexible body in the world or the most musical talent in the world, and they're still not going to be able to perform in Cirque du Soleil overnight, or perform as a virtuoso violinist in the symphony orchestra overnight. It's going to take a lot of practice. And by contrast, you can take the average Joe Schmo off the street, and if you put them in a certain discipline, if they adopt a certain discipline, especially a discipline that they're motivated to do and that they want to get better at, if they practice it day after day after day after day, they're going to get better, and they're actually going to become that musical person, that flexible person, as long as they do it with persistence and diligence. And a piece of advice that I've often given to clients or to friends or whatever, because I'm involved, as many of you know, in the fitness industry, in the yoga industry, is that rather than going to a class once a week for like 1.5 hours, 2 hours, whatever it is. I mean, that's good to do for sure, as kind of like a check-in, a once a week kind of check-in, but it's more important to be consistent. So it's better to do something, even if you're just going to do like one push-up a day or work out for 5 minutes a day. That 5 minutes per day, that one push-up a day is going to make you into a fit person. It's going to work on a physical level for sure, but it will also work on a psychological level. The mere act of showing up at the gym, the mere act of putting on your workout clothes, the mere act of just doing that one push-up, it trains your brain to think of yourself as a fit person. It trains your brain to think, oh yes, I'm the type of person that works out, even if that workout is literally just 1 minute, and I'm not exaggerating. So why are we bringing this all up today? Because today we're going to be talking about another kind of discipline, a more spiritual type of discipline, namely the spiritual discipline of giving charity, giving tzedaka, which has been a big theme of this section of the Tanya, if you haven't noticed already. And yesterday we talked about this practice of giving, the art of giving, in terms of the virtue of alacrity to go with it, to not hesitate, to not be lazy, to not procrastinate. If you dedicated a certain amount of money to give during the year, we said that, don't just wait around till the end of the year to give it, but rather you should parcel it out throughout the year and make sure that you're giving it and that you're excited to give it and that you're not procrastinating in this regard. Today, we're going to talk about this same idea of parceling out that money and giving throughout the year, but from a different perspective. From this perspective of making giving into an art, making it into a discipline, making it into a practice. And that by doing this, there's virtue in this, because this itself will make you into a giving person. There's something about giving on a daily basis, on a regular basis, even if it's a penny a day, even if it's a very small amount, that is more powerful than just giving a lump sum as a one-time thing and forgetting about it during the rest of the year. Just like if you went to the gym one day a year and you stayed there for the entire day to kind of make up for the whole year, is that the same thing as going on a daily basis, even if it's just for a minute a day? No, right? It's the persistence, it's the consistency that's really going to make that change within you. So that's what today's Tanya is about. And so let's get into the text. And for context, we're going to be concluding Epistle 21 today in Iggeres HaKodesh. So here we go. So the Alter Rebbe begins, and he says, "In this too did we find, with the service of tzedaka, that there's a maila, there's an advantage, there's something particular great about doing this service when it's done numerous times. And anybody who does this more frequently is praiseworthy. This is a praiseworthy thing, and not just to do it once and like give it in a lump sum at one time. As the Rambam of blessed memory said in his explanation of the Mishnah, that the sages of blessed memory taught that hakol lefi rov hamaaseh. Everything is judged according to the multiplicity of the actions. That's from Pirkei Avos, chapter 3, verse 15. So meaning to say that this is something that should be done numerous times. There's something good about doing something many times and not as just a one-time thing. And the Rambam went on and he explained what this is about. He gave an explanation for this, why it's good to do something many times, especially tzedaka. This is in order to refine the soul through doing this many times. And then the Alter Rebbe says that there's a verse in scripture that says this explicitly, where it says Pulat tzedaka lechaim. The effect of tzedaka is for life. So just a note about this citation here. I found this in Lessons in Tanya, that there's an issue with this citation, believe it or not. So it seems like it's coming from Mishlei. However, in Mishlei, we don't find this exact verse of Pulat tzedaka lechaim. We find two different verses. We find one verse that says Pulat tzadik lechaim, which is in Mishlei chapter 10, verse 16, which means the effect of a tzaddik is for life. And then we see also that in Mishlei chapter 11, verse 19, it says tzedaka lechaim. So is tzedaka for life. So it's not really clear which, or if perhaps both of these citations are being combined. So I just thought I'd mention that. It's a little bit of the Rebbe pointed this out, and the Rebbe didn't feel like there was a satisfactory answer for this. So it's a little bit of a question. Why did the Alter Rebbe bringing this citation that's not really a full and complete citation, but whatever it is, the Alter Rebbe is teaching us here that this idea of giving tzedaka is for life. Meaning to say, he says that what this means by this is that the action of doing it and the consequence of giving tzedakah in this way is to draw down supernal vitality from the life of all life, the source of all life, meaning from God, from the infinite one, blessed be He, to the land of life, to the Eretz HaChaim in Hebrew. And so what is the Eretz HaChaim? So the Alter Rebbe goes on and he says, this is the Shechinat Uzenu. This is the Shechina, which gives us strength. So the Shechinat Uzenu, this is another term for Malchus of Atzilus, which is the source of our world, the source of all of our lives, about which it says, V'ata mechayeh et kulam. So, and you animate them all. That's a verse from Nehemiah, chapter 9, verse 6. So this is the Shechina is associated also with the Sukkah of David that has fallen, the Sukkot David Hanofalet that we say. This is we say this during the Birkat Hamazon, the grace after meals, after we eat. So it's basically the Sukkah of David that has fallen down to the very dust. As the sages said, Galul Edom Shechina Imahem Chule. So, and that's a citation from the Gemara in Masachet Megillah, page 29a. So, which means when the Jewish people were exiled to Edom, the Shekhinah went with them. So all of this is to say basically that this is an allusion to the Shekhinah. This is an allusion to that level of Malchus of Atzilus, which is the source of our entire world, the source of all of our vitality here in the world. And so, and that when we give tzedakah, we're drawing down vitality from the source of life, meaning from God himself, into that level. And now, the Alter Rebbe goes on and he says, with the esarusa dilatata, with the arousal from below, to vitalize, to vivify the downcast spirits who don't have anything of their own, leitle megalmei klum, this causes an arousal from above. So when we do this arousal from below, when we give tzedakah down here, this causes an arousal above, on high. And especially if we're doing this, if this arousal from below, meaning especially when we're giving tzedakah, specifically to vitalize those people that live in Israel, like truly in Israel. And this is enough for this is suffice for the understanding, says the Alter Rebbe. And anybody who is who's intellectual in this capacity, meaning anybody who really like takes the time to think about this great and wondrous thing, it will be good for them to think about this, about how great the words of the sages of blessed memory are, who said that Hakol lefi rov hamase, that is from Pirkei Avos, chapter 5, verse 15, that everything is judged in accordance with the multiplicity of the action. Meaning to say, the action of giving tzedakah many times to draw down supernal life down here into this world, to create these unifications above many, many times. Like each time we give tzedakah, it creates this unification above. And this is also similar to what the Rambam said, that it's in order to refine the soul. So it's like, first of all, basically we're doing two things when we give tzedakah. On the one hand, we're drawing down this vitality from above. And on the other hand, we're refining our souls. So we're doing something kind of for our own sake here, and also something more selfless. As it's known from the Holy Zohar, that the Shekhinah is called nefesh. So there's a relationship between these two things. The Shekhinah is also called soul because it is our actual life force. It's the life force of our souls. As it says, and this is a citation from Tehillim, chapter 44, verse 25, Ki shechala afar nafshenu, our soul is stooped to the dust. So meaning that like there's something about this level of our soul called the nefesh that is really here in the dust. It's just like the Shekhinah is in the dust, in the lowest parts. And this is why the sages of blessed memory said that Gdolat tzedakah shemekarevet et geula, that great is charity, for it brings the redemption near. Like basically, so this idea of like, basically when we give tzedakah, we're drawing down vitality into the Shekhinah and into our souls, which are both found in exile here. So this is a way to bring them out of exile, to bring them out from the dust gradually in stages with every act of tzedakah, ad ki yavo Shiloh, until Shiloh will come. And that's a citation from Bereshis, chapter 49, verse 10. So that's it for today. And so in summary, again, today's focus was really, again, on giving tzedakah, which is such a big theme in the Iggeres HaKodesh. And it's talking about giving tzedakah in a way of making it a habit, making it habitual, the power of habits, the power of having a practice, a discipline. Just like you go to the gym on a daily basis, not just once a year in order to stay in shape. Just like if you want to eat healthy, this is something you need to do every day. It's not like just like a once a week kind of thing, right? just like if you want to develop a musical talent or whatever it is, you need to practice daily or at least every other day, right? Like it needs to be habitual. So the more frequent you do an action, the more it will become part of you. So too, the giving of tzedakah is something that needs to be done on a daily basis. It's something that needs to be done regularly. And through doing it regularly and daily, this draws down the vitality of the source of all life into the Shekhinah and into our souls, which are very connected with one another and which are both found in Galus. And this is a way of redeeming them out of Galus. So that's it for today. And we'll continue along these lines tomorrow. And I'll speak to you then. Thanks for listening to the It Is Taught podcast, hosted by Sarit Switzer. This podcast is dedicated in loving memory of my maternal grandfather, Avraham Yitzchak ben Binyamin HaKohen of blessed memory. Music by Shoshana. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support the show, please share it with others and subscribe on YouTube, Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And make sure to leave us a 5-star review. To find out more about the It Is Taught project, including more information on my soon-to-be published book, please visit our website, itistaught.com. To catch the latest from me, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Looking forward to speaking with you tomorrow, and until then, have a great day.